I'm absolutely thrilled, completely thrilled. It's taken so long to get to this point of time, and also it's a chance now that we won't have to say to our foreign friends when we're talking about marriage that it actually might be marriage here in the near future. So really looking forward to see what happens now with the referendum.
So it's an enormous day. It's a day to celebrate lots of things. I think for me, there is no doubt that my idea, and I've always held the idea, that Irish people are basically decent. I think we saw that in the Constitutional Convention, where 66 ordinary citizens from all walks of life, ages, shapes and sizes up and down the country listened to us talk about our experience of being lesbian and gay in Ireland, of why being able to be married would make a difference to our sense of being equal citizens. And while there were lots of arguments put up as to why we don't need that, the people of Ireland at the Constitution heard what we were saying, and just as humans, they responded to us. So there's something very beautiful about that. They weren't politicos, they weren't, people with big PhDs from universities. They were ordinary men and women of Ireland who took their responsibility on, and they worked really hard all weekend. And this morning, 79% of them actually said, we think you are equal, and therefore, if there's a question about this issue, let's put it to the people.
Well, obviously I'm delighted. Who wouldn't be delighted? 79%. I mean, it's a great figure. I mean, obviously I was very confident, especially having watched the convention all day yesterday and everything, I was very confident. But 79%, let's say 80, let's round it to 80, let's say 80. 80% is a really ringing endorsement, so yeah, I'm thrilled.
Well, it's a victory for equality and human rights. It's something we've been campaigning for a long time, to have every citizen of Ireland be an equal citizen before the law and before our fundamental laws, the Constitution of Ireland. So we now have an opportunity to put that to the people. And I think it's pretty clear that with polls and with the resounding victory today in the Constitutional Convention, that we're going to be able to convince the Irish people to recognise everyone's equal rights under our fundamental laws.
We're so pleased. We didn't think it would be such a majority, and I just think it's a great day for gays in Ireland, 20 years after decriminalisation. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. It means so much to so many people, particularly couples with children. It's absolutely the first step to something fundamental and very, very important for equality. Delighted, absolutely delighted.
Really, really thrilled. It's really hard to put into words, but it just feels like it's been a very, very long time coming. And just really emotional, obviously, very emotional. I'm thinking about all the people that were out there sort of by themselves fighting for this for a long time. People like Catherine and Anne Louise and the early people in marriage equality, and the movement that they built. It's just really incredible day. Really very, very happy day.
I mean, the changes in the last 10 years, I mean, we've been around for a lot longer than that, and the changes in the last 10 years have been incredible in terms of people's attitude. And I suppose for me, as the non-biological parent of our children, it's a really, really important day.
I think it's great news for everyone in the community, but especially for those people who've put so much hard work into it, like marriage equality, LGBT noise, and all other individuals who've helped get us to where we are today, but it's not the end.
I was overwhelmed. I thought of Anne Louise. I wish she was with me. And I also felt so proud of Ireland, and that, this is the first country in the world where I suppose the struggle for marriage equality comes through something like a constitutional convention, where politicians and citizens are deliberating together on the basis of expert evidence as a result of the years of advocacy and also analysis by all the various sides.
I'm really happy. And I'm also really grateful, I think, to all the people who've worked really hard. The convention itself, to all the organisations, Marriage Equality, Glen, ICCL, Noise, everybody who's worked really hard on this issue. We're going to referendum now, which in one way is really scary, I think, but also I think if we look at any of the opinion polls that show that the vast majority of Irish people are in favour of extending same-sex marriage rights to gay couples, I think we'll be okay.
And I think LGBT Ireland as a whole is somewhat overwhelmed at the level of support from the Constitutional Convention, 79% yes vote. And so, I mean, the Irish people have spoken in their generosity and in their rationality and in their compassion and in their generosity, in that they respect LGBT people and they respect the lives and the human rights of LGBT people, and that they are affirming LGBT people as citizens of this country.
Well, I'm delighted to see equality for all, because, you know, everybody in this country is equal, and I want to see it being recognised that two people who want to be together, regardless of their gender, can get the equality and the same rights as everybody else.
I think this morning was one of those kind of really tense moments in lesbian and gay history. We've been around a couple of them, around the votes in civil partnership in the Dáil and in the Seanad, around decriminalisation votes, and today was another one of those really fantastic days when you're worried, will it go your way or will it not? And it did, and it went our way in way more than what you might imagine. 50% plus one would have been brilliant, but it was actually a resounding victory. It makes you terribly proud to be Irish, actually. It was very moving, very emotional. TDs like John Lyons, Jerry Buttimer, fantastic. There was a brilliant woman who stood up and said there was a big conversation about unforeseen consequences and scaremongering and let's not do this now and let's wait longer and we don't know enough. And a brilliant woman from the audience, from citizen members, stood up and said the only consequence of allowing lesbian and gay people to marry is that lesbian and gay people marry. And she sat down to a huge round of applause and people got it. The delegates voted 79 to 18.
It was like a band of tension released in my chest. It was extraordinary to hear that 78% of the 100 delegates to the Constitutional Convention voted to tell our government to make a pathway for the equal recognition of same-sex relationships. And it's ahead of any of the polling data that has ever come before on what proportion of the country feels that we should be considered equally.
Today is a very positive, a hugely emotional and a tremendous day, not just for those of us who are gay, but for the whole of Irish society, because by our vote today at the Constitutional Convention, by the manner of the vote, we're saying that we want to build an Ireland of equals where every citizen is equal under the Constitution. And today is a tremendous day, it's a day of joy, but it's also just one part of a long journey. And we have another journey to go. So we must put things in focus. Let's celebrate today. Let's rejoice and say thank you to the people of the Constitutional Convention, but be mindful that we must now take on the next journey, the next challenge.
My immediate reaction is, wow, it's great, we're one step closer, but this is only the beginning of the war, you know, and it's going to get dirty and we've got to be prepared and we've got to be ready.
I think it says that Irish people are profoundly decent people. We're a compassionate nation. We're people who, when you have families stand up in front of you and talk about, like the young people that we heard from yesterday stood up and said, my parents are like everybody else. They make me do my homework. They give out to me when I'm in trouble, all of that. But equally, they look after me and they're there for me when I need someone. And they said, look, my family is the same as everybody else. The only difference is how the law treats us. And I think Irish people are profoundly decent people. And when they hear that kind of message, they respond to it.
I'm thrilled. It's an incredibly emotional day. I managed not to cry too much, which was good. But it's the first step along the rest of the process, and now it's up to the government to quickly act on legislating for marriage equality, because it was a wonderful weekend, but there are families like mine and lesbian and gay people are still marginalised by society and deprived of the right to marriage, and I'm incredibly optimistic about the future and getting marriage equality very quickly into Ireland.
I'm delighted, absolutely delighted. I've cried, I've laughed, I've hugged and kissed as many people as I could, people coming over to me who I didn't even know. You know, some people who were sitting at the table who I got the chance to share a day and a half with, who are just so happy with the outcome. And you know, 79% of the people at the Constitution, nearly 8 out of 10 says, you know, we want people in same-sex relations to be able to have civil marriage. And I cried on the way home in the car even, you know, I'm just over the bloody moon, to be honest with you.
Satisfaction that we've gotten the result in. Like, it's equality. It's not so much to ask for, and that we just kind of gotten that basic thing now. It's great. It just feels like we're being recognised as people. And I think that's what hurts the most, when people don't realise that we're real people underneath. I mean, we all are.
And I am delighted for all the other families that will have the chance now to go and do that, particularly for couples that have children with obviously a non-biological partner. The fact that they can now make They should now be able to make both people equal partners, equal parents. It's really, really a joyous moment. We came here today because we wanted to celebrate it with other gay people, and we have my daughter with us as well, so she'll remember today as well.
But they have to bring it in. They have to give our kids the same rights as every kid has, and they have to give me parental rights as well, but more importantly they have to give our kids those rights.
Yeah, and it really does make a huge difference. It makes a huge difference in terms of our children and us and our family life. It's just incredible. It's really big, and it's very hard to describe it. It's very, very hard to describe the feeling. But sitting through, watching the Constitutional Convention over the last couple of days, and some of the things that were said around child protection and just, very negative stuff, it's really amazing to see that there was such a resounding majority in favour of rights for our family and recognition that we are good and loving and committed family just like everyone else is, and that we are due the same recognition and the same rights. It's brilliant. Brilliant.
For families like mine, marriage equality will mean security. It'll mean the legal processes will be in place to protect us in the future, so that given my own situation, for example, if when I was a child, Anne, who's my biological mother, had died, my nearest blood family, my nearest biological family would have been in New Zealand, and thus if they hadn't been too keen on Byrne, who's my other mother, too keen on her, I would have ended up moving to New Zealand instead of living here with my friends and my family over here. So marriage equality in Ireland means a lot to giving the legal safety and the legal structures to protect lesbian and gay-headed families, but also I think a lot of it is just about how we treat lesbian and gay people in Ireland and how we respect them and how we love them equally as citizens.
What's phenomenal is to understand time and time again what it means to people. And today was one of those days. It means a lot. It means an awful lot to, if I was a young gay man in West Clare now, to know that the National Convention validated me would say a huge thing to me. And I think you hear that in that kind of welcome today. It was very, very moving.
It sends a really potent message. The things that go through my head on occasion like this is the knowledge that, on average, a young person recognises that their sexual orientation isn't heterosexual at age 12. On average, they tell somebody for the first time at 17. So that's 5 years when they sit on that knowledge and keep it to themselves and work out what their country thinks of them. Also, another statistic that is always in my mind, the suicide rate amongst gay teens is 4 times that for heterosexual teens. And we have a real responsibility to send positive messages to those vulnerable young people, those people who are questioning their identity, trying to sort out their place in the world. And I think what the Constitutional Convention did today was to send a message that overwhelmingly the country of Ireland embraces young, bisexual, transgender, lesbian and gay people, and that they have less to fear than they ever had in the past. This doesn't mean that we're across the finishing line by any stretch of the imagination. Even when marriage equality becomes a reality in Ireland, that is not the finishing line either, but this is an enormous positive signal that has been sent to every vulnerable LGBT person in this country, and there's more to come.
I think it's so important the message that went out today to young people, to young gay teenagers who are trying to come to terms with who they are. I think it's so important for them to get the message that they're equal Irish citizens, that we want them to be happy, that we respect their relationships, and that we hope that someday when they're older and that they fall in love, that they can be married just like everybody else. I think that's so important because it's still, I know things are a lot better, and we've groups like Belong To that are doing amazing work in schools and amongst young people. But we still have worryingly high rates of mental health problems and suicide amongst our young young gay people, and I think it's so important as part of this debate to remember that, and to remember that by changing our laws it sends out a message to people that says it's okay to be gay, it's great to be gay, we love you because you're gay, we want you to love somebody else, and we're all equal and everybody can be happy.
I think it's an important day for young people. I think that we need to see marriage equality as part of a bigger jigsaw that's basically about the human rights of the LGBT population and of LGBT young people in particular. And I think once the state tells young people that they're treated equally, that they're valued equally through marriage and through other rights as well, I think that's an important statement for their confidence and for their mental health. So I think it's a really important day.
happened today really is that, 100 citizens of Ireland, having spent 2 days listening to the pros and cons and arguments, have unanimously, and we're talking 79% of them, have said to the Irish government, we want you to make provision in the Constitution for same-sex marriage. So in some ways the arguments we were having about, do we need a convention, do we need a constitutional referendum, could they just not legislate, those arguments are all now in the past, and we're now looking at the government having to take this recommendation, this strong recommendation. And really the second part of what people voted on today was, should the government be asked if they want to, they should do this, or should they be told that they must do it? And 81% of the convention said that they must do this.
I thought it was really very important that the chair allowed us to have that longer debate about the various issues. Clearly, by the end of yesterday, there was a swell of support for allowing marriage to be open to same-sex couples. Undoubtedly, in that kind of process, those in the very small minority who are still against would want to think, well, how can we make a pitch really to slow this down again at the last possible moments? And I think it was, having said that, that's what deliberative democracy is about. The chairman allowed that to happen. There was great debate, and that's why I think as well the incredibly huge, overwhelming support for marriage equality means even more, given the fact that plenty of time was allowed for that diversity of views to be expressed.
I must say the transparency that existed in the Constitutional Convention this weekend, and any other weekend in fairness, has just been immense. It's a very, very democratic process. I mean, it actually gives people a bit of kind of insight into that, together we can all have our say, respect each other and make a decision. And if we could do that more often in the way we even do politics, that would be fantastic, because it was immensely transparent and exceptionally democratic.
I think the convention went incredibly well. We had a 80% majority today vote in favour of marriage equality and of equal rights for families of LGBT parents as well. There was a huge endorsement for equality. I think the reason we got such a strong result is that we had incredibly powerful presentations yesterday from Glenn, from the ICCL, from marriage equality, particularly from Claire O'Connell and Conor Prendergast. I think were amazing. They spoke about what it was like to grow up with lesbian parents as young people, and how they feel about the fact that our society and our legal system discriminates against their families. And I think that really, I know for a lot of the people I was speaking to, made a connection with people, where people saw this is a real issue. This is an issue that has a negative impact day in, day out on happy families, on good parents, on people who deserve equal respect under the law, and wanted to change that. And I think there was a very powerful vote today for change, and I think the message that comes out of that for the government couldn't be stronger. We have said very, very strongly as a convention that there should be a referendum and that we want equal rights for same-sex families now.
I have to say, there was an awful lot of moving moments over the convention. John Lyons, Jerry Buttimer, Colin McGorman, really gorgeous advocates for lesbian and gay people, and of course the yes side yesterday from Glenn and ICCL and marriage equality, and in particular Claire O'Connell and Conor Prendergast were just beyond great. They made it real in ways that were amazing, beautiful,
Presenting to the Constitutional Convention was amazing because it was a real opportunity to speak directly to citizens of Ireland and the people who were deciding upon whether we should legislate for marriage equality or not. It was wonderful to be able to share my story and the story of my family and how I was raised by my two mums, Anne and Bernadette, along with my little brother who's not little anymore, Dara. It was a great opportunity, and it was good to add that sort of personal touch to it and the human touch to it. It was wonderful.
If you look at yesterday, I'm sure the videos are on YouTube, I watched it all day yesterday, the people that spoke in favour of same-sex marriage were outstanding and have campaigned for years outstandingly. And what do we have against us? You have people like the Iona Institute, David Quinn. They don't make coherent arguments. When this referendum comes along, it will be passed. It will not be easy work, because we will end up with an awful lot of negative stuff thrown at us. But we stand together, we fight it, we win. Everybody goes home happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the love really exists.
The reaction to my speech at the convention was very, very positive. I had a lot of people coming up to me afterwards and saying, well done, and you spoke very well, and your story really touched me. I had people later on saying that I'd moved them to tears, which obviously I didn't intend to move anyone to tears, but it's good that they were able to identify with the human emotion in our story, and the fact that marriage equality is really, it's about love and equality and respect for lesbian and gay headed families.
Well, the convention will report back to government. Government will make a decision on the report that's received. There will be a debate in the Dáil, and then ultimately and hopefully, sooner rather than later, we'll have a referendum of the people.
My own view is that the government is going to act quickly. This is the government, the Fine Gael Labour Coalition, that put this issue into the Constitutional Convention. So I think that, and they're serious about what the citizens and politicians decide together. So they're going to have to decide whether or not to put it to the people, to accept the recommendation of the convention. I have absolutely no doubt that they're going to do that. Why wouldn't they? 79% of the convention. The polls, I'd say now, will reflect that. Coming up to that, there's a high majority of Irish citizens who say, yes, this is what we want for a free Republic of Ireland today.
Hopefully to the next stage of it, which is that the government will accept this recommendation, that they'll move towards having a referendum within the life of this government. There's no reason to put it off. I think there's a groundswell of opinion. I mean, it's just gone through the second house of Parliament in France to have marriage equality there. It's just, there is a groundswell for this, and I think we should just get on with it.
So what we're looking at is, in about 4 months' time, the government will have to hold a debate in the Dáil where they will discuss the motion that has come from the convention. And our hope would be that at that stage, the government will decide, both parties in coalition will decide that this is the will of the people, that it should be put to the people, and that we will actually have a referendum on the issue. I would think it could be done within 12 months.
I think today sends a very, very big message and sets out the stall that society in Ireland is saying we need to recognise that same-sex marriage is what we need to have for same-sex couples.
I think for the community in general, what it means is that we've got a chance to come together, to be very concise with our message, very clear, and to put that across. This is not a religious debate, this is not about children, this is about civil rights. And that's what we have to make sure that we get across over the next while. This, you know, it's going to be a tough old fight that we have in our hands, and we've got to stick together and we've got to be solid.
It was wonderful to see so many of the volunteers from Marriage Equality, from Glen, ICCL, those of us who just in the last couple of months have come together to work on this issue. I think it's probably a sign, certainly for me, it's a sign of how we're going to go forward on this issue. I think for a lot of people in the community, they will appreciate that we really have a unity. It's a political project of mine that this will happen, and we will see this not in my lifetime but in the next couple of years. So for that to happen, we're all going to have to work together. We've already begun to do that, and I think we've done it successfully. So politically, I couldn't be happier.
There has been extraordinary and remarkable cooperation between, for example, Noise and Marriage Equality and the NLGF, Noise and the NLGF, and now with Glen, we are all of a mind. I think we're going to move forward together. We speak in different tones of voice, in a way, to different constituencies in Ireland, but by doing so, we reach more people and we change more minds and we bring more hearts to our side of the argument. And I think that today is a moment of extraordinary solidarity and unity of purpose, and the atmosphere here today has had me in tears since I arrived, and I think that that feeling is shared by every member of every gay rights group in this place today.
Well, I think now, I suppose there's a few things. One, all the organisations have very shared goals, which is we want full constitutional equality for ourselves as individual lesbian and gay people and our relationships and our families. And I think that's the next goal. So we need to do two things. We need to win a referendum. So there's a lot of thinking to be done as to when we'd like the referendum to happen. We have to win it. And winning it is the point. And we can take the kind of... Opinion polls are great, but they're short examples. Today was the culmination of 2 days of debate, vote, understanding. And out of that we got that resounding result. I think we need to create those kind of atmospheres and win over more and more people. There's always an issue when a referendum will be held. I do think we need to get the legislation for children to recognise, support and protect children in lesbian and gay families across the line. I think we can do that. The government have committed to it. But we still need the full constitutional equality for families and for lesbian and gay couples through marriage. But we have a few building blocks to go, and I think I'm confident we'll win it. And the issue is just we have to win it, so we just need to plot very carefully.